The NFC West is still one of the most intriguing divisions in the entire NFL, and that's even with the Seattle Seahawks looking like they're going to kind of head into a rebuild. So let's begin by looking at the Los Angeles Rams since, they just won the Super Bowl. What's up, guys? I'm Tyler Coker, and I'm your host for today's episode of Today with Tyler. I hope you enjoy. First, as per usual, we will begin with their free agents. The free agents are Von Miller, who did sign elsewhere, Darius Williams, who signed elsewhere, Sony Michel, Odell Beckham Jr., and Sebastian Joseph Day, who did sign elsewhere. So they lost most of their key free agents, but they also gained a couple that we'll talk about in a second. Looking into their offense, they had quite the year. The first year in the Matt Stafford era, and they already have a Triple Crown winner and won the Super Bowl. Sean McVay was finally able to unleash offensively instead of being held back by any sort of skill set of a quarterback, and it looked really good. They had a great wide receiving core, as we kind of expected, and even though Robert Woods did go down, Odell Beckham Jr. and Van Jefferson were enough to kind of fill in, and really the whole point was to just feed the ball to Cooper Kupp anyway. Their tight end room could use a little bit of work. Tyler Higbee's decent, but he isn't a great blocking tight end. And ideally, they would improve upon him no matter what. The running back room, however, is pretty talented. Headlined by Cam Akers, who finally came back from an Achilles tear, and backed by Darrell Henderson and Sony Michel. It gets the job done, and while it may not be at those Todd Gurley levels we'd like to see, they get the job done, and they're pretty good at passing catches. So let's look at their miraculous O-line, which helps its running back core be so effective. Andrew Whitworth unfortunately retired at 40, but they do have Joe Newton behind him, and he is very promising as well. In the few snaps he does get to play, he looks very good, so I have faith that they're still going to have a good left tackle. And once again, Rob Havenstein, the right tackle, backed that play up, himself being another rock on the outside. Brian Kelly, the center, had himself a great year playing as a top 10 center, and they could use some guard depth since both their guards are okay. But they don't really have any guards at left guard, and in the end, they play much lower than the tackles and centers that they're surrounded by. So any place for them to improve on the offense, probably in wide receiving depth, since, yes, they did get Allen Robinson, but he potentially will live up to his potential, but might not as well, because we haven't seen him be effective in a year now. And Van Jefferson isn't working out as well as we'd like, and then they could use some guard depth as well, and then in an ideal world, they get an effective running back. Looking at their defense, they once again suffocated the run. Aaron Donald played like Aaron Donald. Sean Robinson played very well at the opposite end, and Greg Gaines was a decent fill-in for Sebastian Joseph Day when he was hurt. Trading for Von Miller was an absolutely phenomenal trade, and his play was phenomenal, but they will need to replace him. Hopefully, they'll be able to find someone who can fit that kind of skill set, have that great first step, and he fit really well with that Staley system that they have in their defense. His counterpart, Leonard Floyd, played pretty well too, and is a great option for linebacker too. Traven Howard in the middle linebacker category played great as well, but they could use one more inside linebacker to cement this front. The Rams' great secondary kind of took a tumble this season, however. Jalen Ramsey was great, of course, minus the Super Bowl, where he did kind of get burnt by Jamar Chase. But other than that, the only good season they had in the secondary was free safety Taylor Rapp, who got hurt. The loss of Troy Hill and John Johnson III, both of the Browns, clearly hurt this unit, and it left them below average against the pass as a secondary unit. Cornerback Darius Williams, who left to Jacksonville, and strong safety Nick Scott were not viable replacements. And really, the secondary should be the chief concern this offseason when they're looking on how to improve a Super Bowl winning team. So, looking at their position needs, cornerback, strong safety, linebacker, free safety, guard, and then, if they want to, get another wide receiver or bring back Odell Beckham Jr. And since they only have one pick in the first 3 rounds, and that's in the 3rd round, and it's the second to last pick in the 3rd round, they'll pretty much take the best filler available who fits their needs, and it could be someone like Alontae Taylor, the Tennessee corner. So, not much insight there. It's the 3rd round, and things are starting to get slimmer, and with things like corners, they're not as well known by the time you get to the 3rd round. So, the Rams obviously have a lot to work with, and They don't have the draft capital to make anything that much better, but luckily they're pretty good since, they can win the Super Bowl. So thank you for listening to the Los Angeles Rams.